Prime Minister Modi's grand welcome in Tianjin. Is it a possible reset in India-China ties? Namaskar, you are watching The Global Eye with me, Masumi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been received with a red carpet welcome, cultural performances, and an enthusiastic reception from the Indian diaspora. It's his first trip to China in 7 years as he joins world leaders at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, a visit heavy with symbolism and strategic possibility. As Prime Minister Modi stepped into Tianjin soil, he was greeted not with a simple protocol handshake, but a public display of music, slogans, and warm embraces. Indian classical instruments, Vande Mataram being sung, and members of the Indian community in China turning out in full strength to greet him. The optics are clear. This is a carefully staged message of people-to-people warmth, even as governments explore a recalibration of their often tense relationship. Now, what's happening on the ground? Modi is in Tianjin to attend the SCO summit being held from August 31st to September 1st to hold sideline talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping and other global leaders. This marks his first visit to China in 7 years, a trip that signals a possible thaw in relations between the two Asian giants after years of friction. The spectacle in Tianjin does two jobs at once. It soothes domestic audiences and reassures the Indian diaspora while signaling to Beijing that India is open to dialogue. However, symbolism must evolve into concrete policies, stronger border management systems, reliable trade mechanisms, and crisis communication channels. Without this, warm visuals risk being nothing more than optics. And if you see the timing, why now? Modi's visit follows a slow, deliberate diplomatic thaw. Over the past months, both nations have reopened pilgrimage routes, restored visa facilities, and held lower-level talks. And global economic uncertainty, including tariff wars and protectionist moves, has made Asian countries increasingly dependent on regional partnerships. India is clearly using this moment to project itself as a balancing power and safeguard its economic interest while avoiding over-dependence on any single bloc. Is it an answer to the US tariffs? This visit can be read as part of India's strategy to hedge against rising trade tensions with the West, particularly by US tariffs and supply chain disruptions. By diversifying partnerships and strengthening regional trade avenues, India is protecting its growth ambitions while keeping its ties with Washington intact, although it's stuck in the tariff war. This is less a pivot away from the West and more of a multi-pronged insurance strategy. And the triangular dynamic, India, China and Russia, with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin also in Tianjin, this summit reflects a triangular balance. China and Russia shares a strong strategic ties, but India stands apart, maintaining independent stances on security and trade issues. The SCO may become a useful platform for counter-terrorism cooperation, energy trade and infrastructure dialogue, but it is not yet an anti-Western bloc. India's role is that of a pragmatic player seeking space for economic growth without being drawn into alliances. What a new beginning could mean. Manage normalization, resuming regular diplomatic contact, setting up direct military hotlines, and agreeing on limited trade incentives. And the economic pragmatism, establishing safer trade corridors, boosting joint energy projects, and diversifying supply chains. And the strategic pause, engagement without deep military or strategic alignment. India remains autonomous while opening channels. And what about the multilateral leverage? Using SCO and BRICS to shape trade rules, financial mechanisms, and regional partnerships. Risks and constraints. So this domestic politics in both countries make large concession difficult. lingering distrust over border tensions and military standoffs. India's reliance on Western tech and defense partnerships should be taken into consideration too. SCO's institutional limits as a full-fledged trade and security bloc. Now, is this visit a cosmetic diplomatic reset or the first stitch in a new economic tapestry for Asia, one that could blunt the effects of Western trade wars? Today's scenes in Tianjin were a potent mix of culture and choreography, but the test ahead is whether these warm optics translate into durable mechanisms in trade, security, and diplomacy. For now, New Delhi's message is clear. India is playing its cards carefully, strengthening both Eastern and Western partnerships to secure its national interest in an unpredictable global order. If India deepens economic ties with China to offset US tariffs, is this strategic autonomy or a risk of dependency? Can the SCO become a true counterweight to Western trade blocs, and would India allow that? Could this be a pivotal moment in Asia's supply chain realignment? Is the diaspora's warm reception a diplomatic advantage or mere optics? Meanwhile, during their bilateral talks, President Xi framed the world as being in the middle of what he called once-in-a-century transformations. He said the international situation was fluid and chaotic, and that this year, as India and China mark the 75th anniversary of the diplomatic ties, both nations must approach and handle their relationship from a strategic height and the long-term perspective. Xi urged both nations to set up to their historic responsibility, champion multilateralism, work together to bring about a multipolar world, and contribute to peace and prosperity across Asia and beyond. Prime Minister Modi echoed the importance of dialogue, underlining the need for practical steps to ease friction, from resuming direct flights to restoring the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrimage route, while keeping channels open for deeper cooperation. Now, why this meeting matters? This encounter comes after years of tension, from military standoffs along the Himalayan border to a deep trust deficit between New Delhi and Beijing. Yet here the tone was deliberate, both sides emphasizing stability and the forward-looking approach. Xi's words are more than diplomatic niceties. They are part of China's larger pitch to developing nations to reshape the balance of global power, push back against Western dominance, and build a new kind of multipolar order. For India, this meeting was about showing strategic autonomy, talking to Beijing on its own terms without compromising its partnerships with the United States, if it really lasts long, Japan, and other Quad members. This was not a breakthrough, but a careful step forward. Practical deliverables like easing travel barriers, improving border management, and rebuilding people-to-people links are being used as confidence-building measures. These may appear small, but they are the stitches holding together a relationship that could otherwise unravel. The timing matters too. Both countries are dealing with domestic economic pressures, slowing global growth, and shifting alliances. Neither can afford an uncontrolled escalation. The tone in Tianjin was a reminder that diplomacy, even between rivals, is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of maturity. The meeting was strategic. The tone was strategic, signaling a pause in hostilities rather than a full reset. Xi's call for a multipolar world reflects China's ambition to rally developing nations behind an alternative vision of global governance. India's approach is cautious but calculated, balancing dialogue with deterrence. The conversation shows that in a time of uncertainty, both Beijing and New Delhi see value in dialogue, however fragile. This meeting is a reminder that diplomacy often advances in small steps, not giant leaps. Pilgrimages, flight routes, and dialogue channels may seem minor, but they are the foundations of trust. Whether this is the start of a long-term thaw or just a temporary pause remains to be seen. In geopolitics, words are signals, and every handshake tells a story. Now, can two nations with deep border disputes and trust deficits truly cooperate on global governance? Think about it. For more updates and deep insights, keep watching The Global Eye.